am Dave Wescott, CEO of Evergreen Brands, and I have with me Pastor Dave Lundquist,
Director of Enbridge.global.
That's right. And what are we doing here today? We're talking about Change the World. That's our podcast. That's our LinkedIn Live. That's our having fun is Change the World. And interestingly enough, you see I'm wearing this boxing shirt today because it's all about...
Very nice.
Because I said because I want to be professional and I like to party. But Ralph, who shoots the video, so shout out to Ralph, Ralph said, hey, because you'll fight for a good cause.
Yeah.
And I really thought, man, that was a good statement. Like, what will you do for a good cause?
Yeah.
And so I love to fight for a good cause, and I think that's the passion. Last time we talked about, the gem, of the business is really the give back. It really is important. And so I think fighting for these causes and really helping them move forward is amazing. And some of the causes that we have fought for, like, they might not be here today.
We'll get them on later episodes, but
yeah.
I mean, Dave, you have been great in that you do fight for causes, and some of the organizations out there, they need somebody to help them fight for them as well. I mean, there are so many great organizations out there that just need an advocate in their corner, and I think quality, strong businesses can fill that spot.
Can we bridge that gap? That Enbridge.global, that bridge, that missions bridge, to really allow them to continually, to seamlessly operate and not have to worry about all of the financial piece. Not that we want to be, 100% of their giving resource, but we want to be enough to where they can continue doing the good works and they don't have to reset or have that constant worry in their mind of, am I going to make it?
Yeah. This may be a little bit of a tangent, but do you see in business that momentum is an important process? Obviously, in your daily
momentum
work,
is huge.
Yeah, and you're really kind of talking about, helping them continue their momentum as well.
Right.
So, yeah, I see that as...
You don't want to stop the train.
Yeah, and I guess I've never really even thought about that. In that businesses have a momentum and, nonprofits do too. And if they have to all of a sudden stop everything because now they got to go back and fundraise,
it's an issue, right?
Yeah.
And so we want to be that consistency. We want to be that hope. We want to be that light. Like, I wasn't blessed with the desire in my heart to go, feed the poor. It's important, but that wasn't like my calling. But what I think I was pretty good at was doing an okay job at business, and then being able to take those funds and then pour them into these charitable and noble causes. And I think that's what I found passionate. That's my piece. Just like the body has all the head, the arms, the legs, they all have a different function. And so any type of charitable organization, they need volunteers, right? They don't just need money.
Yeah.
They need volunteers. They need support. They need a person to get out there and physically do it. They need, in some cases, build houses or whatever it might be. And so everybody has a different skill or a different trade that they can bring to the table. It doesn't always have to be monetary, right? It doesn't always have to be money. That happens to be my gift at this particular time. It might not be that gift forever, but I think at the end of the day, like, every single person has something that they can give. In fact, I believe it was the organization Lifehouse that came out to our facility and shared, and they said, you know what? More than money, what we need is fathers who's going to come out here and throw the football and, play checkers or just hang out with some of the kids, right? Just so that they have that influence in their life, because they don't have any male role models.
Yeah, so important.
And so, like, that to them was bigger than, instead of writing a check, could you actually just come out and hang out with some of the kids?
Yeah.
And so it's really understanding, how we can help, and we all have amazing talents that can help change the world, because this is all about changing the world.
Yeah.
We can't change the world alone. We can only change the world with you, with your help, with your participation. our big, hairy, audacious goal is 100 million a year into charities and noble causes, but there's a good chance I'll never make that happen on my own.
Yeah.
And so,
but at the same time, I mean, if you get others to join along with you, will it actually happen? And how valuable is that?
It would be amazing.
Yeah, how valuable is that time? So it's really about, in a sense, creating a wake. You may right now be at that point because you're willing to give of your time, you're willing to give of your finances, you're willing to take this business, Evergreen Brands, and say, hey, I'm investing it for the sake of others. But man, just, the wake that you are creating, it may not be $100 million a year by you,
right.
But I mean, you go back 3 or 4 generations, the wake of, you start affecting other businesses, you start affecting other, people to give back. Who knows? I mean, 100 million you might be shooting too low, man.
That might be too low. That's good, because 100 million seems daunting.
Oh yeah. $1 million seems daunting. I mean, come on.
Yeah. A million seems daunting.
I mean, a few years ago, $1 million was, huge amount.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it still is today. Like, it still is insane.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Like we talk on our other show, the $1 million business idea, so like there's folks that are just trying to make it there, right? So, different things. But, you had mentioned earlier when we were just kind of chatting about, the man with the talents.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And
It's good.
You had talked about that. And then, you've alluded to, like, hey, a few years ago, giving $1 million was an impossibility, or maybe as big as a dream of, 100 million. And I think that for me, the story of the man, will you tell us the story about the man with the talents?
So for those of you that don't know, there's a parable found in both Matthew and Luke. It's called the parable of the talents. And basically the story is that a landowner was going away for a period of time, and he had 3 employees that he said, hey, I have some wealth here. And he basically called them 5 talents, 2 talents, and 1 talent. And during that period of time, a talent was a measure of finances. It was literally, if I remember right, it was about 16,000 work days, okay? So 5 talents, significant amount of funds, okay?
Right.
So 2 talents, significant. 1 talent, significant. So he basically said, hey, I'm giving you this, and I'm going to be away. You take responsibility for this. Okay. And the guy who was given 5 immediately went out, invested it, was able to produce 5 more talents for that investment. The guy who had 2 went out, invested, he got 2. The guy who had 1 talent, it says, man, I'm a little worried. I'm afraid of the business owner. I know he's a shrewd man, so I'm just going to take that 1 talent. I'm going to dig a hole, put that money into a hole, and when the owner comes back, I'm going to give him his money back. And story is that when the business owner came back to the 5 talent guy, he said, hey, I've produced 5 more talents.
Right.
And the business owner gave him the thumbs up and said, man, you've been given little. You're going to receive much. 2 talents, same thing. I produced 2 more. Hey, you invested it. Good job. To the guy who got 1, he said, man, even the 1's are going to be taken away from you. I'm going to give it to the guy who has 10, and you're out of here because you weren't willing to risk. And he didn't risk because, bottom line, he was afraid.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to do the work. He was lazy.
He was lazy. So to put this into terms in my own life and in my own business, I've shared on many calls in 2009, brutal time for business, my reformation, bankruptcy, and I'll tell you that as I started rebuilding my business, there was a time, maybe 2011 or 2012, somewhere in there, maybe closer to 2011, I think, where as I was rebuilding, I was able to start gaining cash flow, putting money aside. And I got to a point where I had $80,000 in cash. True story. And I was taking that money, putting it in a safety deposit box, hiding it. And
Digging
I was
the hole.
hiding that money. Exactly. I was digging the hole.
Yeah.
And I was putting that money in there because I was like, if anything falls apart again, I'll be okay. This is my nest egg. I'll be okay. And I was putting my trust in that money that was sitting in that deposit box. And I felt like the Lord told me, I felt like God told me, don't bury your talents.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa. So those of you who have heard me talk before about my penny story, about, me not picking up the penny and God saying, hey, you're going to respect the value of money. Well, when I heard that same voice tell me, don't bury that money, I was like instantly like, okay, I'm not going to fight this time.
Good.
So this time I'm not fighting. What do I do with this money? Well, interestingly enough, just releasing that money and saying, okay, I'm not going to bury it, but what do I do with it? I was in a building that I had no business buying, that I had no business even trying to buy, that my parents had to co-sign for me on, and the owner comes to me and says, Dave, I really like you. You're one of my favorite tenants. Would you be interested in buying the building?
Wow.
I would like to get $1.3 million for it. I'm not putting it on the market for a couple of weeks, but thought I'd give you the chance at it.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, I got this 80 grand squirreled away. Lord, is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this the thing? And so I'm scared to death. I am literally scared to death to try to buy this building. Like, I'm scared just to pay rent, right? And so we go through this process and we go through the SBA, and the SBA says you only need 10% down. And so, I've got a little bit of money in some different places, and we get it all together, and it's literally like all the money that I have. And I'm like, okay, we've got the down payment, and we go through it, and we get denied on a loan and get denied on a loan. And it ends up taking us 6 months to close on the property, super high interest loan. And we take that nest egg, all that money that we buried in the hole, and we invested it in that building. Okay? And we ended up settling on a price for 1.2, roughly. Got the building, made the down payment, and that was it. And in fact, I had $10,000 that years and years and years ago I had given to my mom to hide away in case anything ever happened. And we used that too.
Wow.
We used every single penny that we had. And we put it into this building because I felt like the Lord said, do not bury your talents. We closed on that deal. Within a month or two of closing on that deal, they changed the zoning laws where the building sat. We had builders flocking to us trying to buy the property because now it was for multifamily could be built.
Wow.
And within a few months, we accepted a deal to sell the building for over $2.8 million. I think it was just under $3 million was what we sold it for.
Wow.
Had a huge gain.
Wow.
Went under contract. They had 2 years of feasibility that they had to do. We accepted the 2-year feasibility. They paid certain amounts of money every quarter through that process. The feasibility all passed. It all went through. We closed on the sale a couple years later. And we literally, no joke, turned around and made $1.8 million.
Wow.
By doing exactly what you just shared in that parable. And that was life-altering and life-changing. And that was part of, those things that helped us continue to grow. And it comes back to, be bold and very courageous.
Yeah.
Step out,
Yeah.
right? And give. And it's that same thing with giving. In 2018, we gave $456,000 to charity. My team came back to me and said, you have spent almost all our money on giving back. We are financially in a bad place because of it.
Huh.
They're like, you have to stop giving. This is what my team told me. And I was like, I'm never going to stop giving.
Huh.
I was like, I cannot do it.
Huh.
And you know what? The Lord saw us through all that because God is the one who brings in the jobs. I don't get my jobs from man. I don't get my jobs from salespeople. I don't get my jobs from any of that. I get my jobs from God's blessing.
Yeah.
And I've got to be a good steward of that. And I've
Sure,
got
you
to
still
work
gotta
hard
work
to
hard.
execute it. I
Yeah.
can't slack on the job. But that's why I'm so focused on giving, not because of what I'm going to receive, but because I believe that where my life has come from, I'm called to give. I'm called to spread the gospel. I'm called to live out what the Lord has put in front of me. And for now, that's it. And it's be bold and very courageous.
Yeah.
It's do crazy, insane things. And it's not squirreling away and it's not hiding it. And I also is always brought to my mind is the story of, the manna when they were on the trail, the Israelites, and if they stored up the manna, it rotted and went bad.
Yeah.
But if they just ate what fell from heaven that day,
Daily
it was
provision.
always enough.
Daily provision.
But he didn't allow them to store it up.
Yeah.
Let me take care of you.
Yeah.
Let me provide for your needs.
Yeah.
And that is
Great,
such
Dave.
a hard place to sit.
Yeah, it is. But it's a place of dependence, which ultimately I think is the important part of giving, because giving out of your abundance, okay, that's easy, but you're never dependent upon God. But when you give above and beyond where it hurts a little bit, then you're in that place of dependence, you're trusting. And you know what? It's the parable of the talent. You're willing to throw it all in and it comes back and you get more.
That's right.
Yeah. So good.
You get more, and and sometimes it's tough to do that, but I think that it's got to start with, giving and changing the world's got to start with something close to your heart.
Yeah.
Something that you're really passionate about. For me, I love giving to Native American organizations because I'm Native American. I love giving to things that support drug and alcohol abuse. I love giving to things that support prisoners. I love, those are probably some of my top things, right? That I love to give to. And then outside of that, there's a whole nother realm of places that I love to give to. But I think it starts with what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Because you see the change in the lives of the people around you. A changed life changes a life. And so you start to see that and you start to invest in that. Satisfaction and happiness will never come from another car. Satisfaction and happiness will never come from another house. And in fact, I was at the Harvard Business School and there was a professor there and he was telling this story. And he tells this story and he says, he pulls up on his screen, he pulls up this article in Time magazine or one of those magazines, and it says Masters of the Universe as the title of the magazine. And there's him right there, and he's standing next to Steve Jobs, and you got guys like Jeff Bezos or whomever. You've got all of these people, the most wealthy, most important people in the universe at that time. And he says, I always bet on a sure thing. I was always a sure thing. I'm on the cover of this magazine with these amazing people who you know every day. And he says, I invested in, a banking opportunity and, it was a sure thing. Well, what happened was we were buying, mortgages from Bank of America and so on and so forth, and they put this together. Well, at the end of the day, they said they get into this financial crunch and they decide to renege on the deal. And now he's in this position where he doesn't have anything. So he finds out, boom, they can't sue him. They can't sue Bank of America or whatever bank it was. Maybe it was Chase Bank. Can't sue him, can't go after him. And now he's stuck. And he's stuck with nothing. And he tells this story about how he lost his business. Well, when he went home that day, the doors were locked and there was a note on the door that said, don't come in, you're not welcome. And, finally the maid comes and answers the door and says, your wife's divorcing you, she's leaving you. So he doesn't have anywhere to go, and he tells the story about how he goes and he stays with a friend. And he rekindles this relationship with his father, and he's talking to his father, and his father's like, the most important person, and he's just trying to rebuild where he is. And his father passes away.
No, my word.
And then, he's got this sister who lives in Texas. She starts coming up and seeing him, and she catastrophically dies. And he's just living in this room in a friend's house, and he's out taking photographs, and he's just loving taking photographs, and it's like what's keeping him going, and he's just kind of just in love with what it is. And he says he's walking along the canal in Massachusetts, and he falls down, trips, breaks the camera, falls off his neck, and goes into the canal.
Oh, my word.
And he says at that moment, he knew that being master of the universe on that magazine, and then from here to absolutely nothing, he knew what was important in life. And it wasn't having all that money in the world. And he said all the cars he bought and all the houses he bought only made him think, I need a bigger house.
Yeah.
I need the next car.
Yeah.
And what he found was that life and relationship was with his family and with those closest to him. And that was what was important. And he broke it down in minutes. And he said, this is about how many minutes I have left in my life. And he said, this is how many minutes I have before my kids go to school. And this is how many minutes. And I said, I'm going to live my life different. He's a professor at Harvard Business School today. And he says, anything that you do, whatever you try to accomplish, don't let that be what you are completely consumed with. But find amazing things to give to. Find amazing things that change lives. And he said, you'll find the most happiness in life when you serve others.
Yeah.
But it took him from here to here. And then he's told a story of all of these people on that Masters of the Universe magazine. And he shared how their lives all crumbled. And he shares the stories of these crumblings. And it's an 1.5-hour lecture, and it's right at the end, of school. And it's like, before you go out in the world, before you go conquer the world, think about what's in here.
Yeah.
And it's so important with what you give to and what you spend your time with. Right?
Yeah, totally.
And that's what we're all about at Enbridge.
Yeah, and for those of you out there who don't know what to give to, I mean, we would love to help, and you can, link to this podcast and comment, and we'd love to be able to help you figure out how to give back and, explore what you're passionate about and help you to do that, because that's what we love to do. So great organizations out there. You need to find out what you're passionate about and learn how to give to them.
And we'd also love to know what you are passionate about.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of amazing causes out there that we don't even know about. And in fact, we're going to do a honeybee thing, right? We're going to put some honeybees out. Like, I love honeybees. But honeybees, I didn't even really realize honeybees. True story. This is actually how I fell in love with honeybees. Was
not from the honey?
Not from the honey.
Oh, okay.
But I do love honey. But the truth is that I went around my leadership team years ago, and I said, what are you passionate about? And I asked every single person on our leadership team to find a charity that they cared about. And then they shared that with the group. And one of the guys, a gentleman by the name of Todd Rudge, shared about honeybees.
Yeah.
And about how he wanted to support honeybees and loved honeybees. And that speared my attention to start learning about honeybees. And from that, I actually fell in love with honeybees.
They're awesome.
And so, learning about other organizations and other charities and other amazing noble causes can actually spur an interest that has been I've been learning about. It's been aching in my heart for all these years. And now it's finally...
We're going to finally do it.
We're going to have 500,000 bees, right? Which is a cool thing. But what's cool is that
Which is only about 4 hives.
It's only about 4 hives, yeah, right? But you can, reach out to, Dave Lundquist, LinkedIn. Great place to hit him up, right? Send him a message. Hook up with me on LinkedIn, right? Dave Wescott on LinkedIn. Search me, but send a message. If you're thinking about giving back, or if there's charities that you care about, or if you want help looking for a charity, or you want help in that, we are a great resource, and our goal is to make the world a better place.
Amen.
One step at a time.
Amen.
Right? And so as we make the world a better place, it's like we can do more together.
Yeah.
Enbridge.global, that's our website. That's an amazing place where we have gone. And what I've loved about it is that Dave has spent so much time and so much energy meeting with organizations, learning about their heart, learning about what they stand for.
Important to do.
And are they making an impact? And what kind of impact are they making in the world? Because, you know, I think that we have a responsibility to not just give to anything, but we need to give to things that really change the world and really make the world an impact. Like, I want to see the fruit.
Yeah.
What's been produced?
There are some smart people out there, and those are the people that are doing great work. And I think, you know, it takes a little due diligence, but we can find them for you, or you can find them yourself.
You might love some of the places that are there. There's a place, Marked by Heaven, that helps sexually abused or abused kids come out of Mexico, right?
Yeah, out of the gang life.
Out of the gang life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how you shake it, you are changing lives.
Yeah.
The gentleman that we helped with the kidney,
Yeah.
right? I mean, some of these stories, some of these things that like change lives, and it doesn't matter if it's like you want to do a reoccurring thing, or even if you want to participate in a project.
Yeah.
Because projects are fun.
Yeah. No.
You put
great.
some money into something, and then you see, oh, wow, look at how this project changed this organization's life.
Yeah. Yeah. And the organizations out there, you know, obviously they have some ongoing costs, and it's great to be able to give monthly to them and keep them rolling along. But then they also have great projects, and projects, like you said, are great ways to be able to help them, because it's a shot in the arm. It allows them to do things that, you know, maybe they can't do every month or every year. So,
and sometimes it helps give them hope.
Yeah, it does.
Sometimes you need a little hope. Sometimes you just need someone to come alongside you, put their arm around you, and say, you're going to make it.
Yeah.
Because even them, and this is what I believe, that when you're on the front lines, the battle is the greatest.
Yeah.
When you sit in the rear, not so much. So to tie this whole thing together, we want to be on the front lines because we want the fight. Right?
I love it.
Right? We want that fight. We want to fight for what we believe in. We want to... Now, don't go taking that too far, because we don't want to fight like crazy. We just want a little bit of fight so that, you know, we want more of a sparring match. We don't want to knock down, drag out war. No. You know, we don't want to be getting up at the 8 count saying, can I see straight? Right? That's not the kind of fight that I want at this point in my life. So Lord, please protect us. No, nothing crazy, but a little sparring. Maybe you don't even want the sparring. How about we just do the training? You know, we're going to backpedal on that a little bit. But you know what? We want to have fun. We want to be on the front lines, and we want to change the world. And so we implore you, change the world with us. Check us out. Connect with us. Hang out. And, you know, if you have an amazing organization, we maybe even like to talk to you on our little show here. So anyways, reach out to us. I'm Dave Wescott. Hit me up on LinkedIn. This is David Lundquist, Pastor Dave. Hit him up on LinkedIn. And we are here, and we appreciate your time. We'll be back next week.
Thank you.